Hello, my favorite people in the entire universe. How are we doing today? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to your new favorite place on the internet. My name is Bella, and I love talking about things that make me happy and bring other people happiness, like books, K-dramas, K-pop, anime. Yes, I love anime, I love manga, and I love talking about these things with you guys. And today I really want to talk about all of the books that I read in the month of August. August is officially over. We are now in September, which I still can't wrap my head around. Like, Taylor Swift really was onto something when she said that August slipped away into a moment in time. It was literally sipped away like a bottle of wine. Honestly, I had a pretty good reading month, even though I did have like 2 flops. Yeah, I had 2 stars, which doesn't happen very often. But hey, some months are just worse than others. Overall, in the month of August, I read 15 books and my average rating was 3.87 stars. It's not the highest, but it's not the lowest. It's definitely influenced by those 2 books that I gave 2 stars, which I will definitely talk about later on in this video. Something that I love to do when a month comes to an end is that I like to look at my reading stats in Storygraph, and this is just really funny, so I wanted to share it with you guys because it tells you how much you read every single day. And if you look at the graph on screen right now, you can see that from August 19th to 28th, I read absolutely nothing. I really don't know what happened in those days. Like, where was I? Was I even alive? Like, what was I doing? Wait, oh my god, that's when I went to... See, those days make sense now because those were the days that I went to Disney with my friends. So obviously I didn't read. I did take a book with me, but did I take it out of the bag? Absolutely not. It just traveled overseas with me and it stayed there. Yeah, it didn't get to see Disney, it didn't get to see anything at all, but hey, it's the thought that counts. My reading was a little bit all over the place this month, but I'm hoping that in September, since I do have quite an ambitious TBR, if you haven't seen it yet, I'll link it up here. Yeah, it's pretty ambitious, but I believe in myself because you guys believe in me. So I think we're ready to talk about the 15 books that I read in the month of August 2023. Yes, I have thoughts, okay, because this book was a little bit traumatizing, but I wasn't expecting it because like nobody told me about it, and I just thought it was like a silly goofy time, but like it ended up being very serious and, you know, the opposite of goofy, very ungoofy, and that is the Scum Villain's Self-Saving System. I read the first book, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, in July. I read the first book of this series in July, and I loved it because it's basically about this guy who dies and he gets reincarnated as a character in a webtoon that he absolutely despises. And he gets reincarnated as the villain who has a very gory death. So he's made it his mission to change the story so that he doesn't die. And there's also like this master-student relationship, but like at the end it turns out to be more obsessive than romance. Like, this is not a romance. Like, if you go into this thinking you're going to have a lovey-dovey time with these people, if you think you're going to find a healthy relationship and a relationship with boundaries and respect and non-abusive behavior, then you may have picked up the wrong series, because this, it started off so good because it was just so funny and it was like a parody of all of the tropes that are overdone so many times, and it was just funny because the author was, you know, using them to her advantage or to their advantage, and it was like the story was vibing, it was popping, it was doing what it had to do, it was strutting its stuff, and I was having so much fun. And you know, the characters were pretty basic, but it was still so fun. I think I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. That's how much I was enjoying it. Like, I was genuinely having so much fun. And obviously, like, these are gorgeous books, and inside we have illustrations, which just makes the whole experience even better. The thing is, oh my goodness. Oh, see, this makes me sad because in volume 2 I was having such a great time, and then I picked up volume 3 and that's when everything just went downhill forever. This is the 3rd one, and there is a 4th one, but it's just a collection of short stories after the complete ending that this one has. But after the ending of this one, like, I want nothing to do with this series. So If you picked up this series because I was saying that it was so good, no, I didn't. I never said that. Don't blame this on me. Yeah, I don't condone this series. I didn't like it. I know that some people do. Like, it still has a pretty high rating on Goodreads, but I don't actually like abusive relationships. I don't know, that's just like, you know, I'm quirky like that. I actually like when the partners respect each other. I don't know. Like, it's just very weird, I know. Anyways, yeah, the end, like, obviously I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys, but I feel like you can take away what I'm trying to tell you without actually spoiling the whole thing. This book just becomes a lot less silly and a lot less goofy, and it made me really uncomfortable, and it was very traumatizing. And the thing is that it was written as if it was supposed to be romantic, and if it was supposed to be like this huge smut scene that I was supposed to be loving, but like I was just so uncomfortable reading it, and I was like, this is low-key not right. Yeah, it was just not a good conclusion to my experience reading this series that I was actually loving so much. Do I regret reading them? Not really. But would I recommend them to you guys? Also not really. Which is just so unfortunate because I was really liking it. Like, it has some really good moments. Like, look at this. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh my goodness. Can we? Yes. But then this one, like, it's unforgivable. I don't, no, I just, no. Oh, I feel like if the last 50 to 60 pages of this book didn't exist, I would give this whole series 4 out of 5 stars, but they do exist, so I can't do that. I'm not that good at gaslighting myself, so yet. I'm not that good at gaslighting myself yet, but I'm working on it. So hey, who knows? I'm still very conflicted about this series, as you can see. Yeah, it's like a love-hate relationship because I love the first 2 books, and then the third one, it's like I kind of want to throw some bleach in my eyes and just pretend that I never read that. Like, I'd rather be illiterate than have to read that all over again. Unfortunately, the torture and the trauma did not end there, because the next book that I read this month, or August, was Beartown, written by Frederick Bachman. This was my Patreon buddy read pick of the month, and I had to read it with my Patreons. There's a whole reading vlog, so if you guys are interested, the link is down below as always. But yes, Beartown by Frederick Bachman. This is the first book in a trilogy, I believe. This whole story takes place in a small town, and everybody is a huge fan of hockey. Hockey is like their pride and joy. They have this whole team, and people are just very passionate about it. They're constantly practicing, they're constantly going to the games and cheering their kids on. And Frederick Bachman, what he does is that it's not really a story about hockey, it's more about the culture surrounding, how do I even say this? It's like the culture surrounding the mentality that these boys and these men have. Beartown explores the hopes that bring a community together, the secrets that tear it apart, and the courage it takes for an individual to go against the grain. In this story of a small forest town, Frederick Bachman has found the entire world. Here's my issue with this book. I love Frederick Bachman. If you've been here for a while, you know that I've read 3 or 4 of his books, and every single one of them has made me cry, but like in a good way. In a way that's like, oh my god, I feel so seen by this book. I relate to these characters. I feel like, you know, they're putting words to emotions that I felt, but I never really know how to talk about them. So when I picked this book up, I was kind of expecting to have the same experience, but I didn't. Actually, the complete opposite. This completely ruined me, and it kind of made me hate reading. Like, I really didn't want to think about reading ever again. And the thing is, I didn't know that this type of content triggered me until I read it in the way that Frederick Bachman wrote about it. I'm not saying that he wrote about this subject matter in a disrespectful way or that he did it a disservice. I'm just saying that me as a person, I can't appreciate this story because I just can't. I can't deal with it. Yeah, sorry, I'm weak. But also, I think my mental health is a little bit more important than a silly little book. So I was 80%, no, not even 80, I was like 90% through this book. And I was just pushing myself to read this because obviously, you know, I was reading it with my Patreons. It was like the buddy club pick, and I was like, I need to read this, even though I was reading through my tears. I was literally sobbing my eyes out, and not in a fun, goofy way either. Like, sometimes you're reading a book and you're crying, you're feeling your emotions, and it's amazing. It's like a cathartic experience. But when I was reading Beartown, I could feel myself being emotionally scarred. Like, this book was wounding me, and I could not see an end in sight, and I just felt so sad and so depressed. Every time that I looked at this book, it just made me start bawling, and I don't think that's like a healthy way to feel about an inanimate object. Yeah, this is one of those very few cases where it's truly not about the book, it's only about the reader. This book just was not for me. I cannot get into it. I appreciate what it does, but it's not something that I can read about, and it's not something that I can talk about. It's just a book that I had to experience. I experienced it. Apart from the very triggering content, I also feel like this isn't Bachman's best, because at times I just felt confused with where the story was going, because there are so many characters and the point of view changes so many times. It's kind of hard to keep up with all of these people and to like remember who all of these people are and to remember their backstories. It was like a lot of information at the same time, and that also hindered my experience, and it made me have not a great time reading it. It was just like a lot of different things that made my reading experience with Beartown not good. But again, it's definitely me. Maybe the book is like a 30%, but it's definitely more on me than on the book. But again, after reading the Scum Villain Self-Saving System and then having to read this, it's like, girl, like, I honestly wanted to become illiterate. I did not want to touch a book ever again. And that's when I binged Attack on Titan season 3, actually. Like, that's when I was like, okay, let me go to my safe space. Let me put on Attack on Titan. And yeah, I binged it in like 2 days. Incredible, best decision of my life. And then I was like, okay, I think I can get back to reading, but I'm going to ease into it. I don't want to read another novel and just be disappointed or worse, triggered again. So I'm going to go with something that I know I'm going to love, because I've already seen the anime and I'm starting to read the manga now. So I read 4 volumes of One Piece. These are the omnibus editions, and I basically read volumes 4 through 15. There we go. This is all I read. Look at them. Stunning. Fantastic. Let's see them one by one. That's the other way around. This is the first one. So obviously here we see a lot of Usopp's backstory, the boy who cried pirate. Here we have Sanji, Nami, and Luffy. Here we get Sanji's backstory and a little bit of Nami's as well, so you best believe I cried my eyes out in this one. And then here we have Nami, Arlong, and Luffy. So obviously here we're at Arlong Park. Yes, I also did cry in this one, but like good tears, okay? Good tears. And then this one we have Baroque works, basically, and Luffy. And oh, Usopp as well. Is that Zoro's hand? I feel like that's Zoro's hand. I would recognize his hand anywhere, because I spend quite a lot of time looking at Zoro's hands. But anyways, these are all. I read 4 volumes of One Piece. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have officially decided to collect the One Piece manga in these omnibus versions. It's probably going to take me quite literally years to finish my collection, because the manga is not even over. But I don't think I'm going to regret this, because these volumes are already giving me so much happiness and so much serotonin. I don't regret a single thing that I've done this month. And I never will. Even if I have to get 2 new shelves just solely for One Piece, I will not regret this decision, because One Piece has brought me so much happiness. Like, not only the manga, but like the anime as well, and now the live action, like, come on now. Just everything about this story and these characters, they have brought me so much happiness into my life, like, for real. Like, I'm not even trying to be dramatic. Like, these books literally reminded me what happiness feels like, and the fact that I get to share it with my Sims on Discord. Like, so many people have started watching One Piece, and we're all sharing our different journeys and our favorite characters, and it's just been so wonderful to be able to connect with people that love One Piece, because it's like, I don't know, it's crazy. I just love it so much. I love that I'm officially part of this community, and I love that I get to meet these incredible characters and feel like I'm a part of their crew. I don't know, it's so silly, it's so goofy, but I just love it so much. I love these pirates and I cannot wait to see where the rest of the story is going to take me. In terms of the anime, it's been a long time actually since I've seen any episodes because I've been so busy unfortunately, but I've also been very lazy. And it's also because I know a huge spoiler that happens in Marineford, so I don't want to see it because I know I'm going to be absolutely destroyed. But I'm still in like episode 400 and something. I don't even know. Like, I'm about to start Marineford. I just finished Impel Down, so I'm about to start Marineford, but I don't want to because I know the spoiler and I don't want to see that. I don't want to. I don't want donuts to be ruined for me forever. But anyways, let's move on. Before I make this whole video about One Piece, let's move on to the next book that I read, which was Just Kids, written by Patti Smith. It was an okay experience. I was neither entertained nor bored while I was reading this book because it's basically this memoir about Patti Smith. If you don't know who she is a singer and she had a band, I think in the 70s or 80s. And she knew a lot of famous people. She just knew a lot of people and she had a lot of connections and she had a very bohemian life. She truly lived the hippie experience. This is basically a memoir about Patti Smith and her life growing up, you know, finding her own path and discovering herself and discovering other people, meeting celebrities, meeting famous people, making connections, finding her voice as a singer and as a woman and as a person. And a lot of her days were spent with this one man that is called Robert Mapplethorpe, who apparently was a very famous photographer. They definitely had a lot of adventures and they experienced a lot of things that I obviously cannot relate to because I am not that rock and roll, but it was interesting to read about it. There are some very good quotes. It's very quotable in that sense. Again, like I mentioned before, I wasn't really entertained, but I also wasn't bored. But the thing with memoirs is it's not its job to entertain you. Like, you pick these books up because you're interested in the person that wrote them. But I picked this book up because everybody was Instagramming it and it was all over Instagram. And I was like, okay, it has to be all over Instagram for a reason. Even though I don't know who Patti Smith is, maybe I can read it and maybe like something will stay with me. Because most of the memoirs that I've read this year and even last year, I don't really know the person that wrote them, but I still connect to their story and I still feel for them and I still empathize with their experience. And that's not really what happened with this one. It was just more like, you know, they were just partying all the time and they were doing a lot of illegal activities, you know, rock and roll stuff. And maybe if I would have grown up with Patti Smith's music and like all of the other artists that she mentioned, maybe this would have hit harder and maybe I would have been like, oh my god, I used to listen to them all the time. But it's just, I don't know. It didn't really do anything for me. I did end up giving it 3 stars because yeah, it has some good moments. And I did shed a tear at the end when something happens. I don't know if to spoil this for you because this is obviously like, it's history. It's literally on Google. But yeah, I'm not gonna say anything in case you don't know and you just wanna go into this blind. It's basically about Patti and her journey through adulthood and womanhood and living this journey alongside Robert Mapplethorpe, who had a very strong personality and who knew exactly who he wanted to be, even though it took him places that she could not follow. So yeah, it's her story, but it's also their story and the things that they lived through in those times. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I'm so bad at describing this book, but like, I read this and then cried a little bit and then immediately like forgot about it because like I just couldn't connect to the story. I'm so sorry to this woman. I'm sure she's amazing. I did try to listen to her music and like she has some bangers, Like Horses, I think that's the name of the song, but like, would I listen to it again? I don't think so. Would I recommend this book? Not really. The thing is, the disappointing books do not stop. They really don't, because this next book was a 2-star. And I was actually really looking forward to it because it's from a Dominican author. And I was like, oh my God, represent queen. It's from Isabella Acevedo, and she recently came out with Family Lore. I feel like it was so hard for me to accept that this book was a 2-star. I really wanted to like,
they ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never.
See, not even they want me to bash on Isabella Acevedo. Isabella Acevedo recently came out with this new book that's called Family Lore, and it was so hard for me to admit that this book is such a flop. Personally, like, maybe you loved it, but I didn't, and this is my channel, so like, sit down. Family Lore is this story where we're following, it's like this generational story, and we're following so many characters, which is one of the main problems that I had with this story, because just like in Beartown, there are so many characters and there are so many points of view that it's kind of hard to keep track of them, and then you just end up getting confused, and you're like, I don't really know who you are, I don't really remember your backstory. Let me just show you. There are so many people that the author even had to include a table of principal characters. Like, what? That's just not right. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You're kidding. You're kidding. Oh, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, it's continued. It's double-sided. You know what? I can't even say that I know what the author was trying to do with this one, because I don't know what she wanted to do. I don't know what her message is at the end of the day. Like, I don't know what she wanted us to feel. Usually, I love stories about family and family dynamics, especially if they're toxic and deranged, because it's so interesting to, you know, try to understand them and like try to dissect them. But this one, I found it so hard to empathize with these characters and to care for them. Like, I honestly, they felt so fictional and they felt so fake that the whole time that I was reading the book, I knew I was reading a book. And when I'm reading a book, I usually like to lose myself in the story. I like to pretend that I'm living with these people and that they actually exist. But Isabella Acevedo made it so hard for me to forget that this is a work of fiction and that these people are not real. Which is, you know, it's very disappointing, because I've read other books by Isabella Acevedo and I absolutely adore them. And this is like her first dip into the adult genre. And I just don't think it was a success. I don't know, or maybe it just wasn't for me, but I feel like this is not a Beartown situation. This is definitely the book, and I just have standards. The timeline is non-linear, which just adds to the confusion, but it doesn't add anything to the story. Like, she just wanted to make it complicated to make it complicated and to make it seem intellectual. And maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, but hey, it was kind of hard to get through this book, so I think I can be a little bit harsh. But again, I love Isabella Acevedo. I love what she's done with her 3 other books before this one. This one was just not it. I didn't like anyone. I didn't like anything that was going on. I was bored 50% of the time, and the other 50, I was just confused. But then I got tired of being so confused, so I just ended up being bored, and I wanted to get this book over with. So that's why I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars, because there's literally so little to enjoy of this book, which again, such a disgrace. I know I should be supporting my Dominican mommies, but like, I can't lie. I really can't. Like, I have to be honest with you guys. I would not recommend that book to literally anyone. If you want to try Isabella Acevedo, try With the Fire on High, or the one, you know, that one, gorgeous. I literally have it over there, but I forgot the name. Stunning books. Definitely try those. This one, it doesn't exist. This book does not exist. Sorry, I hit you. I'm so sorry. That book does not exist. Please, let's just pretend it never happened. The thing is, it doesn't end there. After Family Lore, I read another 2-star book. And this one, I know some people are going to be a little bit upset with me, and that's okay. I respect... Actually, no, I don't respect that. when I initially said that I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars, so many people respectfully slid into my DMs to explain to me why my rating was incorrect, why I just didn't understand it, and respectfully, you are wrong. Anyways, the next book that I read in the month of August, and that I also ended up giving 2 out of 5 stars, because apparently I didn't understand it, is Lolita, written by Vladimir Nabokov. The only convincing love story of our century, Vanity Fair. What everybody was telling me was that I didn't understand because Nabokov chose, or he wrote about such a disgusting topic, but he wrote about it in the most beautiful prose, and it was kind of hard to put the book down because he talks about these things in such a beautiful and fantastic and lyrical way that you're kind of just like, you know, entranced and enthralled by the whole thing. But that's not my experience, babes. Like, okay, sure, he uses some big words, and like, sure, he knows how to write a pretty sentence, but that doesn't stop me from recognizing what he's writing about. If you've never heard of Lolita, I mean, you should keep it that way. For me, like, I really don't understand why this is a classic. Like, I just don't get it. Like, there are books that are written beautifully and they're not considered classics. Like, mira, es que yo no sé. Es que yo no sé cómo, I don't know how to talk about this book. Because like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to read a story about a man that's like 40 or 50 years old and he's in love with this 12-year-old girl, and they start this relationship and he starts exploiting her and manipulating her, and he calls it love, but it's actually obsession. And people are like, oh my god, this book is fantastic because the writing is fantastic. But like, the writing is mid. Yeah, it has some pretty sentences or whatever, and he uses some big words here and there, but like, at the end of the day, he's still talking about pedophilia, and like, I just don't understand. Como que, like, I know that Vladimir Nabokov wrote this not to romanticize that topic, because obviously, like, what type of deranged person would do that? And I know that he hates how his book was then later portrayed, like the fact that most of the editions of Lolita have a little girl on the cover, and that's literally explicitly what he said that he did not want, and the way that everybody's just going against his wishes, and they are taking parts of the story and sort of twisting them into their own narrative to make Lolita out as a sexy little nymph, when that is literally what he was bashing. And I understand all of that. I can understand that, and I can still not like the book. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't make sense to me, so it's okay if you don't understand. I can appreciate the writing, but I can also appreciate that I was bored through a lot of this book, because yeah, it's the story about this man that's called Humbert and his illicit affair with a child, but he also talks about so many anecdotes that have nothing to do with the story, and he talks so much about himself, and I'm sure someone is going to be like, yeah, he did that on purpose. But like, okay, so Vladimir Nabokov purposely made this book boring? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because if that was his purpose, he succeeded. I was bored through this book. Obviously not through the entirety of the book. There were also bits where I was disgusted and where I was like, I can't believe this is a classic. And there were also some parts where I was like, oh, this writing is beautiful, or oh, this sentence is very poetic and very stunning. That still doesn't mean that I enjoyed it, okay? Like, I can appreciate the beautiful writing. That doesn't mean I have to appreciate the context or like the actual story. Would I recommend this to anyone? Absolutely not. Like, why would I want anyone to read this book? Why did you guys want me to read this book? I don't know. I'm kind of salty about it, but I do have a couple of annotations, so there's that. Like, yay me, I guess. Maybe one of Nabokov's intentions was to make us reflect and think about like the nature of obsession and how far some people will go to achieve their dreams and, you know, their, what's that word, their fantasies. I don't know, like, okay, sure, it's a classic, but it's not for me. Okay, it's a controversial classic, but it's just not for me. It's not my cup of tea. I just found it extremely difficult to engage with this story in any level, which, you know, it hindered my reading experience because I just wanted this book to be over. Like, I kept expecting it to kind of like hit me in the face like, oh my goodness, now I know why this is a classic. But I never got that feeling, and I feel like I'm the odd man out because, again, so many people messaged me saying, girlie, you're so wrong. You have to educate yourself. Like, you have to look into the history of this book, and you have to look into everything that Nabokov did and his intentions behind it, and like what he was trying to do with the book. But like, at the end of the day, you're not going to have that luxury with every single book that you read. You're not going to have this whole backstory behind it. I feel like a book should be able to stand on its own without any explanation from outer sources. I can appreciate what this book has done for the literary world, but I would not personally recommend it to anyone, and I would never reread this. Girl, I don't know. And it's like, sure, he did something. Yes, I'll give him that. He did something. And I can see that. I can see that he did something. It's just not for me. Maybe I'm una inculta, ¿cómo se dice eso? Maybe I'm uncultured. Maybe I'm just too dumb for Lolita. But it's just never going to be the book for me. Feel free to maybe leave your own opinion of Lolita in the comments below. Maybe you're also a fellow Lolita hater and this is your safe space to talk about how it's overrated and people need to stop glamorizing it. Hey, go off in the comments. I would love to discuss it with you because I just don't see what everybody else sees. So let's discuss, you know, let's be respectful. Let's keep it like we've always kept it, but let's have a friendly discussion in the comments. Maybe you can change my mind. I'm open to any possibility at this point. Like, I just need to understand what everybody sees about this book, why everybody loves it. I already know 2 people who say that Lolita is their favorite book, and I don't understand that. I don't judge them for it because, like, hey, you have your reading taste and I have mine, but I don't understand, like, what do you like about this book? Anyways, let's move on before I lose my absolute mind. Well, actually, with these next 2 books, I did lose my mind, but it's like a good losing of my mind. Like, I would love to lose my mind over and over again if it meant that I got to read Attack on Titan. Because, listen, this is, I don't even know what this is. 11, 12, 13? I don't know. Well, this has volumes 28, 29, and 30, and I love this cover. It's absolutely stunning. And this is also the season that I binged earlier in the month, so it was like perfect timing. I wish I could show you guys frames, but I think of frames. I wish I could show you guys panels, but I literally cannot because everything is a spoiler if you haven't seen the anime. But Levi, if you're a fan of Levi, this is a good volume for you. If you're a fan of Eren, this is a good volume for you. It's a really good volume for you, actually. It gets just really good, and like, there is a lot that we learn. That's all I'm gonna say. And then I also read this one, which has volumes 31 and 32. I am missing one more volume, which should be on the way, which has volumes 33 and 34. And that is truly the final volume of Attack on Titan, which means that I will have officially finished Attack on Titan. I don't know if to wait for the anime, like the anime specials, but I don't think I will. Like, I just need to know what's going to happen at this point because the story is getting so intense. It's getting so good. It's wild. It's literally insane. I did not see a lot of the things that are happening coming, so it's just like banger after banger, plot twist after plot twist, and I'm just left like shell-shocked. I'm like, is this literally happening right now? Are you really buttering my croissant like this right now? But it's so fun. It's traumatizing, but it's fun. It's like the good trauma. Yeah, so I cannot wait to read the final volume in September because I just know my mind or my life is going to be completely changed and my DNA is probably going to be altered. I literally don't know what I'm going to do when I have no other Attack on Titan volumes to collect, but that is future Bella's problem. So let's not focus on that too much, and let's just say that I gave both of these 5 out of 5 stars. Oh my goodness, my dude. These were so good. Like, you don't even know. If you haven't read Attack on Titan, if you don't even know what Attack on Titan is, I would definitely recommend the anime because I feel like it does a better job at portraying the action scenes. Like, it makes a lot more sense. Here, at times, you get a little bit confused with what's going on because it's just like swirls in the air. But in the anime, you know, with the music and the voice acting, it's like, it's the manga times 10. And Attack on Titan is basically this story about these people who have lived very secluded lives. They live like inside these 3 walls and they are constantly defending themselves against these giant monsters that are called Titans. They don't know where these Titans come from. They don't know where they come from, but they just have to keep on fighting them. And some people are trying to find the truth behind them. Some people are trying to survive. Some people join the government. Some people join the army. And they're just trying their best to live life. But the Titans are making it extremely hard. And that's kind of like the premise of the story. But obviously it goes so much farther than that because it becomes so much more. And the things that you learn, the way that these characters are developed, I absolutely adore them. Like, they are so complex. None of these characters are either completely good or completely evil. Like, all of them are morally gray, and that's like, the morally gray characters just hit the spot, okay? And this is like chock full of morally gray characters. So you should give Attack on Titan a try if you haven't already, because I feel like you're going to love it. If you're not afraid of a little bit of gore and a little bit of blood and a little bit of violence, then I feel like you're going to love Attack on Titan. It has 0 romance though, so don't go into this thinking you're going to have like a cute little love story, because you won't find that here. You really won't. But it's so worth it because the characters are so hot, okay? Listen. If anything, just give it a try because of the eye candy. You definitely will not regret it then. So you're welcome. Then I read another manga volume that's called My Love Mix-Up, and it's written by Wataru Hinekure. Probably saying it terribly wrong, but there we go. This is the first volume in a story. And it's like, it's so adorable because it's basically about this one guy. Oh my god, that was such a cute panel. It's basically about this one guy, right? It's him. And he has a crush on this girl. And this girl has a, wait, oh my goodness. Okay, let's do it like this. The story revolves around this character. And he has a crush on her, but she has a crush on him. And because of a little mix-up that happens, he thinks that he has a crush on him, even though it's her, but then he doesn't want to tell him about her crush, so he pretends that he does have a crush on him, even though he doesn't. It's just adorable and cute and funny, and there's just so many good moments, and you just find yourself laughing, you find yourself having fun, you find yourself blushing, and you're like, oh my goodness, what is going on? It was just a really fun time to read, and I read this when I was sick. I randomly got sick in the month of August, and I was like, okay, I'm going to die. So I picked this book up when I needed like serotonin, and this did the job fantastically. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It was really cute, and I'm definitely planning on continuing with the series because it just brought me so much happiness. And I really want to see what happens because like at the end, I'm not gonna say it, but like stuff happens, okay? You know what I mean? Like, yes. Oh my goodness. And then okay, yeah, I'm not gonna say anything, but it was so cute. Like, if you like romance mangas, and apparently this has an adaptation as well, which I'm definitely going to be seeing, so thank you guys for telling me about that. But if you like romance animes that are just cute, and it takes place during high school, and these kids, they're just so awkward, and they're so, oh my god, they're adorable. They're so cute, they're so awkward, and I love them. If you love those types of characters, then you're going to love My Love Mix-Up, so give it a try because I loved it, and I'm definitely going to be continuing. The next book that I read in the month of August was Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. This is a very short book. I think this has like 114 pages, and it's basically a feminist essay about I know what it's about, okay? I know what it's about. It's just, it's very intellectual, so it kind of takes me a second to figure out how I want to talk about this book, because it's basically Virginia Woolf exploring what it would be like if Shakespeare had a sister. Would she amount to the same level of success as her brother, or would she have to face different hurdles just because of the fact that she's a woman? And of course, during those times, Shakespeare's times, women did not have the same liberties and freedoms and rights as men. So Virginia Woolf explores the different barriers and the different limitations that women had, and she goes into detail about the things that women would need in order to create and in order to be artists of their own right and in order to write books and become successful to the level of Shakespeare. And she says that women would need a room of their own in which no one would disturb them, no one would ask anything of them, a place where they can just create uninterrupted, which obviously was not something that could be found in those times, because women were basically the household. They had so many things to do at every second of every day. She also explores the necessity for financial independence, which again was impossible for women back then. And she also just talks about her hopes for the future, which was very, what's that word, like, it's not hopeful, but it's like seeing Virginia Woolf, who wrote this in, I think, 1929, and she's talking about her hopes and dreams for women in the future. And me, yes, I am a woman from the future, reading about those hopes and dreams, it was kind of like a very out-of-body experience, because I don't know how to explain what I felt, but I just know that I loved it. It's a book that makes you think about gender and equality and creativity and just women as a whole, just everything that women have to go through on a daily basis. And even though they go through so much, they still took the time to create. She also quotes Jane Austen and Charlotte Bronte a lot, and I love both of those authors. So it was very nice to see a lot of their quotes sort of used as the backbone to some of Virginia Woolf's arguments. I just loved it, because like Jane Austen slayed, and I love that she was used as an example, because Jane Austen was ahead of her time, truly. I ended up giving A Room of One's Own 4 out of 5 stars because I just really enjoyed it. I think I read this like in 2 days, and I could physically feel my brain expanding. That always happens when I read Virginia Woolf, because she just has a very peculiar way of writing, and you have to open your brain to like 200% to fully understand what she's trying to tell you. And yeah, sometimes it's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge if you're up to the task. So yeah, I have a couple of tabs as well, and I made them match the cover of the book, which is always a fun time. So there we go, A Room of One's Own, 4 out of 5 stars, Virginia Woolf, you've done it again. We've made it to the end of my wrap up. Let's go. What do you think the last book is going to be? Yeah, you're not gonna guess it. The last book that I read in August was actually my August Patreon buddy read of the month. Wait, did I say that Beartown was August? Because it wasn't. That was July. Oh my goodness. Anyways, yes. So my Patreons for August, they chose Divine Rivals, written by Rebecca Ross, as our monthly book club pick. I was honestly really surprised by how much I loved this book. I love that I have an entire reading vlog dedicated to it, because it was just such a fun experience, and I loved getting to know these characters. I love how crazy the story gets, but I also love how beautiful the writing is. In Divine Rivals, we're following these 2 characters. We have Kit and we have Iris, and they work in the same place, but they're both vying for the same position. So they're constantly competing against each other, and the banter is fantastic. The tension is tensioning. It's so good. I love the relationship between them. I love that it's kind of like, I don't hate you, but I hate that you want the same things that I want, and I hate that I have to compete against you because you're obviously better than me. But then they both think that because they think so highly of each other, and it's like this sort of mutual respect, but also I kind of hate that you're so good type of deal. And there, oh my god, then there's like this bit where they're like writing letters to each other but like, oh my goodness, it's like so good. I think my favorite aspect of this book was definitely the writing, because it is so lyrical and beautiful, and Rebecca Ross definitely knows how to talk about grief and love and just human connection. And I just had so much fun reading this book. I loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and it was such a good way to end my month, especially because, you know, this month was filled with ups and downs, but I'm so glad that we ended on a high note, because Divine Rivals was very good, and I am so excited for the sequel, which apparently is coming out in December. Definitely color me excited, because I need to see where the story is going to go, especially after that ending. Oh my goodness, I hate cliffhangers, but this one was good. This one was really good. Those are all of the books that I read in the month of August, a total of 15 books. Let me know in the comments below what you guys read this month. Let me know if you found any new favorites, if you found any books that you would have rather not read. Are there any books that you would want to recommend to me? Please let me know all of that and more down below. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please say it with me, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps my channel out, and it helps me know that you guys actually enjoy these videos so that I can keep doing more of them. I also have a Patreon where I post exclusive content. I host reading sprints and readathons and a monthly book club. I also recently started a podcast with my sister, so if that is something that sounds interesting to you, the link is down below as always. I would love to have you join my army of premium simpers. If you're still here, that means you're one of the very lucky few to hear me say that I am so proud of you. I hope you're having a fantastic week, and I love you very, very much. So thank you for watching, thank you for staying until the end, and I will definitely talk to you guys later. Bye.
Hey Jimmy, you nice. Keep going.